Now, when it comes to the Section 8 program, obviously it's not a perfect system. I'll be the first one to admit it. It definitely has its flaws. Now, I do believe the overall intent of the program is a good thing, which is why the concept of providing rental assistance for those in need has been around for almost a century. But unfortunately, just like everything else that's meant to be positive, there's always going to be people who take advantage and abuse the system. And these stories I'm about to go over are examples of people doing just that, which makes not only tenants, but the entire Section 8 program look bad. And of course, these individuals got busted. And let this be a fair warning, trying to get over on the system is definitely not worth it, as the scammers in this video had to find out the hard way. So let's dive into these stories as well as possible changes that HUD may make to combat these scams. Now, San Francisco is such a beautiful city within mid-northern California. It's the 17th most populated city in the country, with a population of over 800,000 residents. And with cities of at least 250,000 residents, San Francisco is ranked first by per capita income, which means the average income for each resident is ranked the highest in the country. So in other words, it's a lot of people making a lot of money in San Francisco, which is why the cost of living there is amongst the highest in the United States. Now, with that being said, you'd think that the CEO of $1 million corporation would be able to afford to live in San Francisco, right? Well, that didn't stop Gregory Finkelson from scamming the Section 8 program for over $340,000 over the years, all while he was a successful businessman. So between 2006 and 2020, Finkelson, who's now in his 60s, stole approximately $341,455 in Section 8 rental assistance. And he did this by hiding his true income as the owner and president of a company called American Corporate Services. And he also hid the fact that he was actually the true owner of the house where he lived and for which he received Section 8 vouchers for. So how exactly was he able to pull all this off? So Finkelson reported that he earned $12,000 a year working as a notary public for the company that he actually owned. And he also worked with a co-conspirator in Russia by putting the house in their name to hide the fact that he actually owned the house. He then created several bank accounts in his co-conspirator's name, or in both of their names, to which the Section 8 payments were transferred each month from the San Francisco Housing Authority. So it looked like the Housing Authority was paying the landlord each month, even though Finkelson controlled those bank accounts. And he also subdivided the single family home where he lived into 3 separate units, one where he lived, one for his business, and the third was rented out. So not only was he able to collect rental assistance from the Housing Authority to live in his own house, he was able to collect rent from a tenant as well. And all of these funds were transferred to his fictitious accounts, in which he used those funds to pay his personal expenses, which included funding his business, paying credit card bills, and a vacation timeshare in Hawaii. Now, it doesn't say exactly how he ended up on law enforcement's radar. I'm assuming they're keeping that information private so they can continue to catch other people. But he was indicted on charges of conspiracy, theft of government property, and money laundering. With facing up to 20 years and a $500 fine, Finkelson admitted to everything and took a plea deal. He was sentenced to 1 year in prison for theft of government property, a 3-year period of supervision following his release, in order to pay $341,455 in restitution, which represents the total amount that he admitted to stealing. 1 year in prison for stealing for almost 15 years? I don't know. I think he got a pretty good deal. Now, this next story is a little more recent, and it's where a city worker allegedly had 17 fake children and was scamming Section 8 and other subsidies out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you know where it took place? You guessed it, the great city of San Francisco. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on in San Fran, but it's quite a coincidence that both of these Section 8 scammers were scamming in San Francisco. But anyway, 47-year-old Daisy Avalos and her 49-year-old partner, Maggie Pasegan, are being charged with grand theft, welfare fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy after investigators discovered that they were receiving more than $30,000 a month in Section 8 housing funds and child care benefits. A joint investigation was formed between federal, state, and local agencies, and investigators had the couple under surveillance for months. As it turned out, those 17 children that the couple allegedly had were nowhere to be found. I would think that if someone received benefits for 17 children, that this situation would have been investigated before they even started receiving benefits. You know, like with Social Security cards, birth certificates, house visits, but I guess not. And not only did they lie about their children, but they also lied about their income, which they failed to report, as public records show that one of the ladies owned 2 businesses. Now, is it that expensive in San Francisco where in order to afford it, you gotta own a business and be a scammer on the side? Well, anyway, the couple was due in court later this month for a preliminary hearing. We'll see how this turns out. Now, in other Section 8 scammer news, these next two short stories, they actually happen a lot more often than people may think. So a couple of weeks ago, a 65-year-old woman in Florida named Australia Gonzalez was arrested and charged with illegally receiving Section 8 benefits while subleasing her apartment in the Bronx, New York. So for those who don't know, yes, it is illegal to sublease the unit in which you receive vouchers for. Even if the landlord says it's okay, you're not allowed to do it. And she was pretty bold with it, subleasing it while she lived in a whole nother state. And it's no telling if the landlord knew or not, but as long as he kept getting paid, he probably wasn't even complaining too much. Landlords look the other way all the time. Now, the New York City Housing Authority is claiming that they paid over $50,000 in benefits to Gonzalez between 2019 and 2024. In whole time, she was renting the apartments to two people, charging them between $750 and $800 a month. And get this, they're also getting her for failing to report that income, which she was illegally getting because she was claiming to be unemployed and not receiving any income. Her next court date is set for next month, and if convicted, she could face up to almost 30 years in prison. Yikes. And for the last Section 8 scam we're going to talk about, we have a woman who concealed her marriage to the Social Security Administration and to HUD so she could keep receiving Social Security and Section 8 benefits. So 52-year-old Doris Santana, who received Section 8 housing vouchers from 2008 to 2021 and supplemental security income from 2018 to 2024, pled guilty a few months back to 3 charges related to theft of Social Security and federal housing funds. Santana got married in 2011 but didn't want to lose her benefits, so she decided not to report it to HUD or the Social Security Administration. She ended up receiving over $145,000 in benefits that she was no longer eligible for. She already pled guilty, and the maximum time that she's facing is 25 years in prison. As of yet, there's been no report of her sentencing. Most voucher holders are low-income families who actually need and rely on assistance. The scammers mentioned in this video were all on Section 8 for years, over a decade, and lied about their income or being employed at all, or lied about being married. And all of these lies were told just to continue receiving assistance. It does make you wonder, what exactly can HUD do to the program to ensure that individuals can't abuse the system while taking away from families who are truly in need? Well, HUD Secretary Scott Turner said in an interview that HUD's task force will be conducting a full program inventory as he's advocating for deregulation and a review of all outdated requirements. And Project 2025, which this administration seems to be following pretty closely, also addressed the issue, admitting that these benefits have penalized family formation in traditional two-parent marriages and have discouraged work and income growth. And to combat it, HUD needs to implement reforms reducing the implicit anti-marriage bias in housing assistance programs, strengthen work and work readiness requirements, and implement maximum term limits for residents. So obviously, rumors of term limits and work requirements have been floating around for a while, but I'm not too sure how HUD will implement reforms to reduce anti-marriage biases. If a Section 8 tenant gets married, will they still continue to receive benefits even if their household income has changed and they no longer qualify? I don't think so. So I don't know how they would actually tackle this task, but it all remains to be seen. As of now, there's only been talking, but I'm sure that there will eventually be some action. And when it is, I'll be right here to break everything down. As always, thank you guys for watching.